Smile for the camera. Or not.
Okay, we can start, can't we? Oh, James is just joining.
Hello.
Hey, James.
Good.
Hi.
No face,
Not yet.
James?
I've reloaded it several times. No face yet.
Well, it's hard to say what's more important, a face or a voice. They both are pretty valuable, I guess.
You need a face to have a voice.
Well, I have a smiling face there, but it's not
Literally.
moving.
You're missing your body language, James. Yeah.
I'm
I like
dancing
having-
right now. Can you see me dancing?
I can feel it.
All right.
Okay, so should we, let's start the meeting. We've got lots to get through. Has everyone read the minutes? Are there any comments on the minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Okay, just to highlight, as this meeting is 1 week earlier because of the Thanksgiving holidays, the December one is also 1 week earlier due to the Christmas holidays. Are there any other announcements or reports from members of other commissions? I know that we have one coming up later on in the agenda in terms of 20 being plenty.
Just a little thing
Mhm.
that I believe Jamie might be able to confirm it, but starting today, the Oregon liquor people, whatever they're called, have suspended bottle and can returns as we are moving into this COVID freeze time. So hang on to your deposits until a later date.
That's so hard on people that use that money to buy food.
I know it.
That's cruel, actually. That's so mean.
I think the
Wow.
reason there actually have been outbreaks at some of the centralized collection places. I mean, I actually know somebody here in Ashland whose son got COVID and the only possible exposure was going to, I think there's a place in Medford that has a sort of industrial scale collection. And that was the only place he ever was exposed to anything. But I think that's what their concern is. It's sort of using too big a hammer.
Yeah,
Deal
then
with
you
the
make
stuff.
it safe. You don't stop the program.
I mean, they still could have worked something out, but
yeah.
It's tough times.
Yeah, because those are the same people that now aren't getting handouts of food or money or other things that they used to rely on. And, you know, it's the same population. So we're taking away every avenue that they used to have to get money.
Okay. Thank you for the update, Risa. These are challenging times. Public forum is being taken as written testimony, and then we have the council update and the staff update. Do we have Stephanie on the call? No. Shall we kick off with you then, Stu?
Yes, sure. Can just give you a quick little rundown of a few things that are in process. A few things that are done, I guess. I think everybody here knows that we finished the new vehicle chargers down in the Pioneer lot. So that's up and running, doing pretty well. A couple bugs to work out, but mostly everybody's very happy with it and looks great. Also, yesterday was the first day of the new incentive program that I wrote a grant a while back with Bonneville Environmental. And we got some funding to help push our city incentives a little more. So there's actually an electric bike incentive, which is brand new. That's $300 off a Class 1 e-bike from a local shop. And the new electric vehicle incentive is $1,500 off of a newer used EV that costs less than $30,000. So there's a bunch of other program details, which I won't go into right now. But that program started this week, so that's pretty exciting. Rope to Go is transitioning over to the new Be the Change ownership. And we're looking at some ways to expand that program, maybe into the fire relief area. I don't know that we have much to report on that at this moment, but there's some opportunity there. Really lucky to have our new rare volunteer helping out. I think she's actually here on the call too, so that's, I should check that. New website's coming along. I think they just sent out the first draft of the city web concept, the like mock-up today, which I haven't even had a chance to look at. But as I mentioned, I think at the last meeting, the climate and energy pages are planned to be one of the first rolled out under the new website. So we're working on that. Climate Policy Commission had a very healthy meeting last week. I'd encourage you to check out the minutes from that if you're interested in what that group is up to. They have many projects under advisement right now. I think I'll pause there.
Risa has her hand up. Does she have any? Risa, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a Stu question about the new bike incentive program. Is it only for purchases from yesterday forward, or is it retroactive for 2020?
It's only, so in order to participate, you need to get a voucher from the local bike shop. They have a stack of them, and it's only for sales moving forward. So
Okay.
no retroactives. Any other questions?
I actually attended the last CPC meeting and took some notes, but I just wanted y'all to know that I was actually there. Didn't say a word. I was just in the audience, but it was very interesting.
I think the only other thing I would add is that I think there's going to be a lot of different outreach opportunities coming up with the new website. Bridget and I are planning to do a series of like Zoom meetings that are topical on different things. Once we have that fleshed out a little more, I'll certainly bring it to you folks to talk about. But it's based on that adapt your home concept that I've used in the past. So it kind of makes a nice like 4 pillars of action that any resident can take to, you know, make positive climate action. So we're hoping to do, you know, like a video call about preparedness, and another one about renewable energy, and one about efficiency, and so on. So I think there'll be an opportunity to weigh in on that stuff. Also, I know that the Ashland Action Group of SOCAN is starting to do articles and more outreach on their own, and that they were interested in having some cross-pollination with this group. So I'd encourage you folks to engage individually or collectively with them. Yeah, I'll leave it at that for now, unless you folks have specific follow-ups on any of that.
Yeah, just to add what Stu was saying, SOCAN have an intern putting together businesses that are doing something sustainable and the most sustainable in the community. So also if you have ideas for businesses that can be put forward for that directory, to either contact SOCAN or email me, I can put them forward as well. Yes, Risa?
So connected with that is that article that that Elizabeth just sent to all of us today, written by Lori Kaplan. Did y'all get a chance to read it? It's about that group, the new group, the Ashland, and they're working on climate action issues, and they have created, there's going to be a new newspaper column called Spotlight, I think. And a copy of their first article is in your email box when you get a chance to read it. It's exciting that these folks have organized themselves, and it sounds like they have traction and have a game plan. And I think that there will be ways for our commission to help for us to intermingle. So to speak.
Absolutely. I was thinking that, Risa, because what they've done is out of the 200 and odd community people that responded to their survey that they were running on COVID and climate change, those that wanted to get involved more, they have then contacted, and they have them helping in terms of the traction around this arm of SOCAN. Yeah, so it's really exciting.
Yeah, I just wonder, it seems maybe a natural resource for filling any vacancies coming up on our commission, that we should make sure that those folks are aware of, when there's an application opportunity, and encouraged.
That's a good idea.
So I noticed on the, this is James, by the way, I noticed that Kathy Conway and Alan Journay, at least those two, are not residents of Ashland on the board anyway, so.
Yeah, the Ashland Action Group is actually a subgroup of SOCAN, and Kathy and Alan are kind of the umbrella group of SOCAN. So they have some
Well, yeah, okay.
factions.
Have you anything else on this staff update?
I believe, I'm not positive, but the new group, Louise Shawshank is part of it, Linda and Lori Kaplan. I think they're all Ashland, Ashlanders, but look beyond just our little nest.
Not Shawshank, that's a movie.
I can never remember the right pronunciation, so
Shawshank.
Shawshank from the movie, that's what lives in my brain. Sorry, Louise.
Do you have any more for the staff update?
I think that's sufficient for now. There's a lot of things potentially happening in the future, but a lot of that's covered in more detail in the Policy Commission minutes. So yeah, I think unless there's a specific question, that's it for now.
Without Stephanie here, is there any update that would be helpful in terms of timelines for us for the council update for when the new council is seated?
That's a great question. I don't think I have any good answers for you as far as what their appetite is going to be for new stuff from commissions. I'm not sure. I think we're all waiting to find out.
Okay. That takes us on, unless there's any other questions for Stu, we'll move on to the next agenda item. Okay, so that takes us on to old business, and we are making a decision around the next sneak preview article. And also, this was raised at the previous meeting to have a discussion around other outreach channels, because a lot of work goes into this article. Could we plug it elsewhere? Could we do other messages, particularly an ask from Stu has been to raise the profile on some of the programs that he's involved in. So we'll start with the decision on the monthly column in the sneak preview. Are there any comments on Jamie's wonderful article? Yes, Rita?
Trying to be good. It's not easy. Good article, Jamie. I just found a different spelling of fluorescent. It's spelled two different ways. And I'm pretty sure the one that's with a U is the right way, and the FLOR, it just needs to be, they're very close together in the article, but that's all I got.
I love that. I am such a Nazi when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I don't know why I use the word Nazi. That's dumb, but yeah, thanks. I'll change it. And Elizabeth, do I need to get that to you today or?
No, send it to me.
Oh, okay.
And I will forward it
right.
to the Stu.
The chain.
I'm trying to make it efficient and not too many hands going down the line. So
can I make a motion to approve the article if there's no other comments?
I have one comment, James here.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with proving it or not, but I really appreciate the end part where you talked about friendly wave to smile and wave to the drivers. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thanks.
Looked like Marnie.
I have a question. Jamie, it says to put the bins out the night before if you're not worried about wildlife, but I'm wondering, is there anyone in Ashland that shouldn't worry about raccoons and stuff? Because I know raccoons get ours all the time. Like,
I don't have a problem with it. I always put mine out the night before.
oh, okay.
I'm like right next to Ashland Pond, so you would think there'd be a problem, but
Yeah.
there weirdly isn't. So I think what happens is, you know, if I put my I'm an animal hat on, if someone has something really stinky at one point out there, they'll come back to see if that thing is around, but they don't know what day of the week it is, you know. So once that happens a few days in a row, they move along type of thing. But that's just me guessing.
Okay. The bears definitely know what day of the week it is, for sure.
The bears have it figured out,
Yeah.
for sure.
Know what the week it is on my street. Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's more of, I've lived all over Ashland and I've never seen bears below the boulevard.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
was thinking raccoons though. I mean, we've had them at every house and they will tip the whole can over and you can hear like.
They work together. Do you have video surveillance of that? Because I would love to see them working together to do that.
I don't, but that would be fun.
Oh, please try for me. That would be really cute. Our drivers love it when that happens, by the way, because part of our, protocol is we got to keep moving because otherwise you don't collect everybody's trash in the day and people call and the driver didn't pick it up and you want the driver to pick up your old meat. Okay. Well, sorry.
Yeah. It just seems dangerous to even suggest putting it out over the night before, but I trust your judgment on that.
Well, I mean, it does have that qualification of, if wildlife isn't a concern, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, Larry, you're muted.
Go on, Larry.
I move that we accept the article for January.
Can I just make my comment? Sorry, my pointer was being obstinate. The one thing I wonder about, Jamie, would it be possible, I still personally have confusion over what is permissible in the blue bin, and if it would be possible to have a link in the article for more detailed information on how people should prepare recycled materials and what really is okay and what isn't, down to like bottle caps and you know, different kinds of people will try and recycle plastic clamshells, which aren't accepted, and things like that, to sort of distinguish
Mhm.
you know, what is okay and what isn't.
Mhm. I love your idea, and to that point, I hadn't I had that in mind and wanted to include a visual example of what goes in the carts that we recently created. And I think the technology is the hindrance in this case. The sneak preview is very old school in that even if we did, I guess we could put a link so they know to go to Recology. But it's not, there's no online print version where you can click that link and go anywhere. The online print version is basically a picture of the article. And the what goes thing, Curtis at the sneak preview can't do that. I think
Well,
that's beyond his.
Yeah, I was just thinking even a text version of it that people
Mhm.
could just copy into their.
So what I'm
Browser.
gonna, okay, I can do that easily. Add that to
Or
the,
just the page that has the link, you know, you could just say, go to this page and look for, you know,
Is it on your
recycling.
website, Jamie? Because yeah, if we can link direct through to your website.
well, it wouldn't be direct through, if you know what I mean,
Yeah,
because
But-
there's no clicking, but yes, I can.
yeah,
say
people will
whatever
type
I-
it in.
Yeah. And just so we all know, I periodically put that, it's a picture with pictures. Well, it looks like a bumper sticker of the things that go. And I periodically put that in the sneak preview. So just as a Recology thing too. So that's just, so you know, it's, the word is getting out, and I will add your suggestion, Larry.
Jamie, are you still using whatbin.com?
Yes, so I could reference that.
Mm-hmm.
There are tweaks that I'm working on making, and I don't know that I've caught all of them. So it's a Whatbin, for those of you that don't know, is just a kind of like an app that you can type in your item in question, and it will tell you which bin it goes into. It's a Recology wide tool, and so anyway, think of using it from Washington down to California. It's not perfect. So I generally just try to tell people to stick to the list that we have. And I don't often direct them to Whatbin because I haven't caught everything yet. So, you know, is floss in there? I don't know. I don't know if I'd have to check. So.
Jamie, this is James. I just looked it up, and obviously you know this, but it's recology.com. It's got some words in it, but when I did a word count on your article, it seems like there's room to put the entire URL in that takes you to the your 3 carts.
So the Whatbin, I think I'd rather not reference Whatbin right now, but I don't know. What's the take of the rest of the commission on that if it's not perfect?
Well, don't you have a link specifically to Recology Ashland that could go in the text of the article? And then then people just get what's current for our community.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
what-
Yeah, and that's what I was referring to was it says recology.com, recology/Ashland /your-3-carts.
In the article already?
I'm just saying that would be one,
Oh, okay.
which then people could type in.
I mean, that's a possibility, but I think we're steering away from that. Am I misunderstanding?
Recology Ashland.
Sorry, what?
Isn't the ask just to go to Recology Ashland rather than a specific?
Well, then they have to go to all services, and then from all services, they have to collect your 3 they have to go your 3 cards. So it's somewhat, it's not directly intuitive on the homepage.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. I think I'm with you now, James. So what you're seeing is that in order to find out the simple list of what goes, not anything having to do with what bin, you're
Correct.
saying it's kind of a maze, basically,
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
there. I hear you on that. What I can, so occasionally what we'll do is we'll take that list and just slap it on the front page of, you know, to see the list of what goes right here, you know, so you see it right when you get to the page. I can request that.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
For
Yeah.
a temporary, you know, I don't know. We have other things that are really important that come up too, you know, like when the fires happened. And so it might go down the list, but it will be there too.
That sounds great.
Risa.
If it was just like a button, you know, that's just like what goes,
A
you know,
widget
so,
or something? Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't take up very much room on Recology's homepage. And so the customer goes to the homepage and then there's like a little thinger and they just click it and then it gives them the information. They don't have to work very hard.
Totally. Oh, I like all those ideas. So I'll see about a button. Yeah. And arrows pointing to that for sure. I like the idea. So I'll do that. And so as far as, I just want to make sure that I'm clear. So I'm just linking to the website and saying that on the homepage of our website, you can find a list of what goes. Does that sound good?
Is
Okay.
that true?
And change fluorescent, change the spelling of fluorescent. And am I missing anything?
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, cool. I'm on it.
Okay.
Thanks, Jamie. So someone, I think James moved to approve a few minutes
That's
ago.
correct. Yes.
So I'll second that with the improvements that we discussed.
Those in favor?
I
Right. Okay, that's exciting. And then our next article is going to be on electric bike and vehicle incentives that Marnie's writing. And that's coming to our next commission meeting. So it's due for the packet on the 7th of December. Is that okay, Marnie?
Yes, and I will contact Stu about that and we'll work out what needs to be done. I don't know, Stu, if you already have something, if it should come from you, if you already have something written up, or if you want me to write it and just give me some information. So either way.
Maybe you could start with the web pages, which
Okay.
for the city website is just /e-bike incentive.
Okay.
And then the other one is /EV incentive. And so maybe check that out first and then connect with Bridget and myself and we can figure out what comes next.
Okay, sounds good.
Great. Thanks, Marnie.
Okay.
Risa.
So thanks for doing that, Stu and Marnie. And I believe, Elizabeth, you confirmed that that article needs to be to you by December 7th. So it can go in our packet for our meeting on December 16th. Did I get that right? Okay.
That's written in the agenda. Yep. Okay, and then we've got 2 more in the pipeline for March and April. And we will continue to add. So I'm comfortable not adding any more right now, but if we add another one as one comes off, so we've always got 4 in the pipeline. What do people think about that? So we'll just have an ongoing item to think of new articles.
I'm just wondering about the timing of them. Is the COVID-19 and sustainability maybe more timely now than water conservation?
The COVID-19 and sustainability is a very loose title. So it's changed all the time. I think that title came up from when I wrote an article on this for the university back in May, but I would probably start looking at some other aspects of it in terms of the outdoors or single use, which is very, I think, good timing for April, because at the moment I'm not sure I'm going to add to anything. The water conservation was thought as a good one because we'll start to be coming out of winter and that would raise awareness then. So we covered some of the timing at the last meeting. So are there any, it was also thought we could always have another water conservation later on in the summer as well. It was seen as quite a important issue when we had that really good presentation at the last meeting. Okay, so the next, are there any more comments on, oh, that's what we have to discuss, the channels and future outreach. Has anyone given this some thought in terms of other ways to reach the community in the content of these articles, but any of our messages generally? Marisa?
I'm not dialed into the social media world, but it seems to me that there might be some key avenues there. The way that I am thinking about this is that, like, we come up with a half a dozen places that are going to be just regular places, you know, like each month it's like, okay, the sneak article goes into on the city website, and then, you know, we come up with like 5 other sources, like this new group that I can't remember their name, that Lori Kaplan and Linda and Louise are a part of. Like, they seem like a good avenue to share their resources with. And I guess SOCAN is connected to them, so that gives us 2. And I'm just not in that world, so.
SOU is another one. I'd welcome anything I can promote through there as well, on our social media channels or as an article or a e-news. We have a number of newsletters and social media sites. There are a couple of well-used social media, Instagram and Facebook in Ashland, that we could also use, Risa.
Well, let's call them out. Let's call them out, write them down, and let's just get our little future package so that we don't have to think about it. I mean, maybe as time goes on, we add or we subtract, but we have, you know, we have this resource laid out each month, so it's easier.
Okay. Mani?
There's the Mother's Medicine Wheel on Facebook, which has a huge following, and it's all families. There's a lot of people concerned about sustainability already on there. And then they even have a subgroup that's all about reducing our footprint. So that would be a really good group, I think, for getting things out there. And then there's
What's the name?
It's the Mother's Medicine Wheel for Ashland, but they're changing the name, so it'll have a new name soon. There's a big Ashland, it used to be Ashland Peeps, and it was super obnoxious, and I'm not on there. But now it's called something else because it got so toxic.
It's been taken down because it got even more toxic.
Even more toxic. Okay, so I don't know. I'm not sure if there's anything that's replacing it, but you know, something like that I would be willing to join it just specifically to post.
So I love Ashland, seems to be the popular one now that's less judgmental than
Okay.
what was Ashland Peeps.
Yeah. And then
Um,
there's the neighbor, whatever the neighbor site is. I mean, that's almost taken the place of Ashland Peeps, I think. What's
the
it
other
called?
app. What's it called?
Yeah.
Next door.
Next door.
Next door, yes. That one would be really good for getting information out there as well. So.
Well, that's great because I'm not that good at numbers, but I'm counting 7. We just banged out 7.
And if we want to do anything funny or tongue in cheek, we can put it on Ashland Memes official
Mm-hmm.
on Instagram. That's quite
That's
funny.
a good idea. Yeah.
What is that?
It's like a they do memes of Ashland where it's quite tongue in cheek, kind of laughing at ourselves in Ashland.
Definitely has a younger crowd on there. So that's a good place.
So they would take an article, like a serious article, and then they'd make it fun?
We would
No,
have
they
to
wouldn't
make it fun.
Okay.
They
Mine-
wouldn't want an article. They'd want a message shortened, I think.
Oh. Well, that's a good thing to think about.
Mhm.
Cool.
We can make memes.
Yep. Go on, Jamie.
I love that idea so much because it is so different than you can share. So a meme, Risa meme's kind of like a comic.
Yeah, it's like a made up, it's supposed to look like you or something, but it's
No,
not. It's
that's a
silly.
doppelganger. That's a doppelganger. Or something. Or an avatar or whatever it is.
That's an avatar.
Avatar, I don't know. But imagine a comic. So something making fun of something like Garfield, only it's catered to, it's our comic. So if you wanted to make fun of people who, oh gosh, I don't know, single use,
The environment.
okay, they preach recycling and they don't wear a reusable mask or something like that. You want to like make fun of that, you can draw a picture and do that. And that's cool because a meme can be shared. I could send my friend a meme I like via text. Haha, look at this, it's so Ashland. So if I'm not on social media, which I'm not, you can do it that way. You can do it via social media. You can email a meme. You can put it on a website. You can. So we just need to get really funny, guys. That's all.
Yeah. I know some high school students that could help us. They're very good at memes.
I love this. I love everything about it, and I'm so stoked. I just didn't. That's brilliant.
Yeah. So have that underlying message where there's a meme that actually drives a behavior change in climate and conservation. That's perfect.
Where's my easel? I'm on it.
So could we like get a plug for Rogue to Go through that? And then it would just be like this jabber with young people about avoiding single-use to-go waste? Is that,
I would do a meme on single use, but I would promote Rope to Go in a more serious space, like one of the other pages.
like what?
Like on one of the other Facebook pages, in terms of promoting Rope to Go, I wouldn't take
you
it into the
can't-
meme space.
Couldn't you do something fun and silly, but getting the word out about Rogue to Go to an audience that, you know, it might not ever get their attention until you meme them.
Yeah. No, you could. I totally agree with that, actually.
I
You
don't
need some creativity and, yeah, how to promote it in that sense without putting it down. Yeah.
Mhm.
Do any of you remember when, well, as I'm sure a lot of you know, Gills and Ruby's, super popular, hip place to go. And when they first started advertising, they kept doing these, I think they were like kind of meme-like cartoons referencing everyone at Ruby's says you should go to Gills. Everyone at Gills says you should go to Ruby's. And I was like, what is this place? Like, I've lived here since 97. I have no idea what you're talking about. And it got me wondering. And I went and found out on my own because it was just so confusing to me. So there could be something like that, Risa, with, you know, everyone, you know, referencing Rogue to Go, that, and it's just making the connection of, you know, the funny part of it and how to do that, you know?
Well, what it makes me think of, it's slightly off topic, but it's doing a thinger between the CPC and the CCOC, just because like no one even knows what those groups are about anyway. And so then you do that idea about who is Gills and who is Ruby's, and then it might attract some people to find out what those two groups are. I don't know. I'm just.
You mean you as in me, or do you mean you as in like
us as in us?
Oh, okay.
It just, I'm just talking
I think
out.
we should, I like the idea of doing that in terms of, yeah, promoting different changes in behavior rather than focusing on the groups again, because we had that discussion last time that the groups might change over time. And at the moment, we want more to hold up in terms of what we've achieved. So if we can, yeah, focus on the outreach of the behavior.
So it could be the bicycle electrification for the cars downtown for the bicycles. It could be a bicycle in a conversation with an electric car. You're like, which one is better? I don't know what I'm talking about. I've never even seen it, but
it could be a whole movement that we start in my mind. And I say, guys, the limit, this is COVID times, anything's possible. We just got to get rid of money or hire people that are.
I was going to say, I really appreciate the creativity here. And also, I think it's a good idea to come up with some idea of what outcome you want to achieve.
Well,
right? You know, to guide the process a bit. And one suggestion, take it or leave it. There's that action card that Marion put together that's on the commission page. You know, you could have people make memes about stuff that's on there because that's all actionable. It'll, you know, give some structure maybe. Be careful what you ask for though. Crowdsourcing.
Okay.
Could be interesting. Jamie's has her hand up.
Oh, thank you. I like how we all take turns on who gets to call on people. That's fun.
No.
You. I hear you, Stu, and I have a, you know, any good documentary that's talked about a movement or anything like that. The outcome is that, you know, it started here. The outcome is evident. It's that a bunch of people are participating and active and going on to the, I mean, is it evident that there's an outcome or not? Could be the question. If it's not evident that there's an outcome from the memes, then there's really no point in doing the memes. But if it's obvious because people are doing the card you referenced, or, you know, we have 1 million people attending Conservation Commission climate outreach meetings, it's, you know, it's obvious. It's evident and obvious.
Yeah, I think you can measure the engagement with anything social like that. I think what I was trying to say was to determine what behaviors you want most to change and try to focus it on that. Like, is it efficiency? Is it recycling? Is it, you know, like what's the most important thing? Because you can't do everything. That's all, just for targeting for maximum effect.
Mhm.
So I
You know,
think,
associated with that, this James, sorry, I couldn't raise my hand. Um, Associated with that, I'm wondering, Stu, if there's a meme, for instance, and then there's a link over to, say, an Ashland website where they could click on a button that says, this is what I'm gonna do. What it does to that person that participates, it kind of puts in cement for them that they've dedicated themselves to it. Their names don't have to show up, but at least they take that action. Would that be something that you could do for any of these besides the meme and any other places where we put things?
Unlikely. You know, anything on social like that is going to take on a life of its own. And if you're lucky, it'll stay on message and drive some behavior change, but there's really not a way to control how those things spread or where they direct people. Also, James, if you can mute one of your two devices, it might help the rest of us.
You don't like spice. I know that.
hi, Steph.
We can't
Steph,
hear
you're
you,
on.
Stephanie.
I can never get into these meetings. I can never connect. I just sit here for half an hour waiting. So it's,
Glad you made it.
well, I'm here anyway.
And then Steph has a meeting.
You're here now, Steph. I was going to say, we're just talking about outreach, different ways of doing outreach. So I know that we could discuss this for a while. So I'm just thinking what Stu said about the outcome and where to go next, because we've had all these ideas for Facebook pages, Nextdoor, SOU, and then the group, this arm off of SOCAN that's doing an article. So we have to actually think what our messages are. You know, they're not just taking the article we write for the sneak preview. It might be they're taking a certain message within it or another part of it. Go on, Risa.
Well, I was just thinking for ease for us is that we decide what this baseline outreach, the different choices that we brought up. And it's not a matter of having to redo the article, it's just passing it on. The meme fun idea, that's like a different animal.
Mm-hmm.
But the other listing of 7 places, I was just imagining that one person that is connected with social media could take, say, Jamie's article for this month and send it to these 7 or whatever they are, and not have to redo it, but we're just trying to get a bigger bang for that initial effort that we put into every article that we write.
Okay.
That was what I was thinking.
So does the article, when it goes up on the city of Ashland, is it within our package or does it go up on the website as well? Because that would be a good link electronically if we were sharing it.
I think Elizabeth's been putting them all up on the commission page. Is that right?
So they have a direct page to go to?
You could copy the URL direct, I think.
Okay.
So then operationally, with actually taking this idea and turning it into an action, is the smartest way to do it to wait until Elizabeth puts it up, and then that person takes that link and then sends it to the 7 or 8 places?
Okay, but that's a big ask on social media. I'm personally not going to use my personal account to do that. That's where it gets difficult. Bonnie?
Oh, I was just going to say we could each be in charge of different outlets. I mean, I'm happy to use my personal
Okay.
Facebook to do a couple. And so maybe I'm in charge of the Mama's Medicine Wheel and someone else is in charge of something else.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a good idea for those that are comfortable in terms of certain channels. Because I'd be totally comfortable pushing it through SOU, and I have that mechanism as well. Jamie? You're on mute.
I was doing so good. There may be a solution in a platform called that we use at Recology called Meltwater. And that is a universal platform that can take one message and put it out to Instagram, Facebook, all the other ones that I don't even know their names of, depending on what you have. So maybe there's an opportunity for, you know, like the city of Ashland has a website. There's a presence on Facebook, I think. I don't know. Does the city of Ashland have an Instagram account? That could get plugged in at one time to all of those things through this platform that is called Meltwater.
I've never heard of Meltwater.
Hmm?
I've never heard of Meltwater.
Oh, it exists. I don't, there's probably others. There's probably others, but it's a universal do it all thing. And I don't know how much it costs and I don't know anything about it other than we just use it.
Okay, so that seems to be one option to look into, or if we all take a channel, then I guess that also personalizes it in a way, because we might need to tailor it for separate ones. Like if we were posting it on Facebook, it would be good to have a picture, or on Instagram, we would need a picture with it. So I've written down all the ones suggested. The arm of SOCAN, the Action Climate Group in Ashland, SOU, Mother's Medicine Wheel, Next Door, I Love Ashland. And then also, I guess there's also like the Twitter side in terms of City of Ashland. I don't know if they would be interested in directly reposting an Earl. Steph? You're on mute.
Did you mention livable Ashland?
Livable Ashland. No,
Yeah.
is that Facebook?
Yeah. More people seem to be using that. I think that's maybe Jackie Bachman and Jim Bachman may be the ones that are the administrators for that.
Okay. So we have lots of suggestions. Stu?
I have one other comment, suggestion, question. Outreach to the new city council, which obviously is not sending them letters or articles necessarily, but interpersonal connecting. I wonder if this group wants to officialize or take on any of that type of action, or maybe Steph could speak to how this group might effectively contact or engage with the new council in a way that would be helpful. I don't know, open question. Mostly I'm thinking of like keeping people keyed into, you know, important issues in the community. Things we want to make sure that council, you know, talks about.
Okay. Risa, then Larry.
So in response to what Stu said, actually, one of the new counselors I was supposed to have coffee with, but now it's probably going to be a Zoom or a phone conversation. But It seems like the most important people are the new people. Or not. Anyway, so I guess I just wanted to say, like, I like your suggestion, and there's one counselor that I should be connecting with who I don't know personally, but intend to.
I mean, I think the ideal thing would be if each of you had like a buddy, you know, counselor buddy, who you could keep up to date on important things. But, you know, whether they would welcome that or not, I'm not sure. It probably depends on the person. I think Larry has something to say.
Yeah, I've had success just chatting with, I chatted with the candidates and had interchange with them. They were interested in water issues, and that worked really well. I think it's best to do it informally.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. And I have to go. I let Rebecca know that I was going to have to leave at 4. So
Thanks, Larry.
and I hope nothing needs to be voted on. You can send me a text message and I can pop back from my other meeting. Bye-bye.
We'll add it to your list, Larry. Don't worry. We'll give you a lot to do.
We'll action you for a few things, Larry. We'll let you know. Okay, so that's a really good point, Stu, because we do need to think about that. But I do think in terms of some of our outreach work, yeah, that's separate. So we need to think, what kind of messages could we put over these groups that are reaching a huge part of the community in terms of Facebook? Is it just reposting the article, or is it writing it differently? And then the other thing I'm going to think about is how we can reach the SOU community through the work that this group does. Risa, do you want to take the action in terms of reaching out to that other arm of SOCAN to see if they would be interested in our articles and where we can?
I'll do SOCAN and the new group and the sneak preview, which, you know, I already do.
Okay.
So I'll take those 3.
Okay, that would be great. Marnie, do you want to have a think about the Facebook groups and what kind of, how we could communicate with them?
Sure.
Okay. I'll think about SOU because there are a number of channels there. Were there any others? Does anyone else want to pick up? Go for it, Jamie.
Recology is a given, I think.
Okay. Yep. And oh, Nextdoor was the other one. Is anyone on Nextdoor?
I'm on Nextdoor.
Okay.
I can do that too.
I'm plugged in, Marnie.
I'm not on Instagram. And I know for Ashland Memes, that's Instagram, right?
Yeah.
So
I can think about that. I might talk to a couple of my students about that as well.
Okay.
And
I think if you guys do the meme thing, you should like give them a contest or something. So you
I know,
can,
that's what I was
you don't have to
thinking.
be totally responsible for the content either.
That'd be great.
So if we as an action with those of us that have volunteered to help move this forward, let's those of us that volunteered, let's do what we said, and then at the next meeting we can check in and we can see what's working, what's not working, what we want to add, and then because it's, you know, if we accomplish one more place to send that article between now and next month, we will have doubled our efforts. So
yes,
you know, we're going in the right direction.
Yep, totally. When you get the final version of the article, Risa, can you, or Jamie, can you send it to me and Marnie as well, so we can look at it to see how we could get it out?
I can, if Jamie, when Jamie makes the corrections, she can send it to me. I'll send it to the sneak and I'll send it to Elizabeth.
Okay.
Sure.
And Marnie and Bex.
Perfect.
And Stu.
Okay. Perfect. Right. We will regroup on this at the next meeting then.
Sorry,
Um,
just a clarification question. And I'm just curious, why are we sending my article? I don't mind, but why are we choosing to send it to everyone?
Just so we know when it's out in the world and Elizabeth can put it on the website
Oh.
and people can share it to
Disseminate.
other
Okay.
places.
I was like, am I doing something with a meme on this now? I'm confused. Okay, never mind. Okay.
No,
Never
we
mind.
might share it through other channels or parts of it, Jamie, in
Okay.
terms of Facebook or SOU.
But you should
Um,
put it on.
I'm just joking.
But we should be aware that it's not due in the sneak preview or not due to them until the 23rd of December. So we shouldn't actually be publishing it before anywhere.
So can I take the Rogue to Go article and we can run it? I can send it
Yes,
to.
perfect idea.
Okay, that we'll be warmed up
Yeah.
by.
So let's practice with the Road to Go article. That's brilliant. Because we've got a
What was
website there as
decided?
well.
What was just decided? I'm confused.
The article at the last meeting that's going in the next sneak preview is Reese's article on Road to Go, because we don't want to publish your conservation tips article anywhere before the sneak preview. I think we have to respect that process.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
Lisa. That's great. So then we go on to, the 3 projects that we've had put forward. And thank you very much to Larry and Marnie for getting the text on these updated for this piece. So we have, if everyone can see from the package, there's a little section on responsible consumption and single use, which carries on from the work that Jamie, Risa, and myself and Marnie were working on through the Waste Prevention Subcommittee. There's then the climate resilience piece, and then water use and water conservation, which Larry tightened up in terms of certain actions. So this is where I know we have an awful lot of other stuff going on across the group, but this is where we could start to distill down projects where we could come together in smaller groups to start moving things forward. So essentially, in a way, what the subcommittees had been working on, they might have a project they work on, but these are more distinct projects rather than a topic area. So are there any thoughts on these 3 projects at this stage? Do we want to pick one? Do we want to split into smaller groups to look at them?
Can we pick 3? I mean, what do you mean?
Do we just want to do one of these, or shall we pick 3 of them? I mean, these 3 have been picked through an already narrowed down list. So my preference would be to pursue all 3 of these. Go on, Risa.
Thumbs up.
Oh, okay. I thought you were waving your hands to talk. And to get into smaller groups, I'm going to ask for Stu and Elizabeth's advice. Do we have to formalize that through subcommittees, or can we work on these as projects?
Mm-hmm. So the word on the street right now for COVID is no subcommittees, because we can't notice and run so many meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Much staff time, and it's not trackable sufficiently. So what's worked with the policy commission, at least so far, is they have a bunch of different projects, and every project has one person who's the lead, and that person connects offline with a non-quorum number of people from the commission to do the work. Does that make sense?
Yes. What's the non-quorum?
It would be 4 or less.
4 or less. Okay.
Right? Is that right, Elizabeth? So the project lead and 3 other people Although, how many vacancies do we have on this group? One?
I think 2. Oh, 1.
Well, it's the Ashland School District and then another community member. So technically 2.
Okay.
So that's how they've been doing it. Basically, one person's got the ball at all times, which actually makes it really easy to check in and see what's going on and coordinate next steps. So I would recommend that. If you're going to do all 3 of these, have one person run point on each one. Preferably not the chair, but whatever, because the chair is, at least in policy commission, is busy coordinating everybody, all the project leads. So that's my thought. I don't know if Elizabeth wants to add anything or not. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So we've got free run to go run with projects. Is that how I can interpret that? Okay. So we could you can sit on 2 groups, you can sit on all 3, but we could get into, we could have a lead for each area and then be contacted by that person. I don't want to speak for Larry, but I know he's done the work and a lot of input into the water conservation. So he might want to be lead in this area. Reese's seems happier to speak for him than I do with a thumbs up. So we could ask him if he wants to be, since he had to go, if he wants to be lead in that area. I'm happy to input into any of these groups, and naturally, as everyone knows, because I talk about single use so much, would like to play a more prominent, active role in moving that forward. I know that Risa, Mani, Jamie, and we had been looking at this in quite a lot of detail before COVID, and there's a lot of elements to it. And we had made a bit of progress, and then due to COVID, that was halted. So we've got 3 really good project areas here. Any comments, thoughts on everything said so far?
My only suggestion would be to put people on one project first and then let doubling up happen after that.
Okay. You mean walk before we run, Stu?
Just keep it, if there's too much involvement, it's easy for things to get slowed down.
Okay.
Sometimes having fewer people makes it go faster.
Okay, thank you. Mani?
I think we'll have to have some people, at least on multiple committees to start with, otherwise we won't have enough to fill out all 3 topics. But hopefully no one leading more than one. And then for the climate resilience one, it seems smart to actually coordinate with the SOCAN group, since they're already moving ahead, and we'll want to find out what they're doing and how to fit together with other groups.
That seems a good idea.
Yeah.
Are you volunteering for that one, Mani?
I'm happy to do that, yes.
Go on, Risa.
Can we just go through each of the 3 and find out where we are? I think we can do this kind of quickly.
Okay. So if the 3 projects are single use, climate resilient, no, not single use, they're responsible consumption, largely attached to single use, climate resilience and water conservation. Does everyone have one in particular they would like to start their focus on? Should we go around the squares here? Jamie, should we start with you?
One more time on those 3 groups.
Single responsible consumption and single use, climate resilience, and water conservation. There's a description of each one in the packet.
Oh, great, thank you. The first, I think the first one is the obvious for me, yeah.
Okay. Brian?
I'd like to do, first choice would be climate resilience and second would be water.
Okay. I should be taking a note of this, shouldn't I? And James?
Yeah, same as Brian.
Yeah, it's right here. Towels and
Okay, and Risa?
Yes, I'd like to do the responsible consumption, and I'd also like to do the water. If there's enough room on water, I'd like to do water also, please.
Okay. And does anyone else? No, everyone else is involved in different ways. Or does anyone else want to get involved in any of these? Steph?
I'm doing something, I don't know how it relates really to this commission. I'm working with a food bank on a program of teaching people to dehydrate extra produce and working on providing dehydrators to people so that there's not so much food waste of the things that the food bank gets, fruits, vegetables, different things that you cannot put into the waste system. So I don't know if that's anything that this group wants to be involved with, but I'm doing that because I'm on the board of the food bank.
Oh, wow. That sounds interesting, Steph.
So I just didn't know if you wanted that somehow to reflect this commission, this outreach commission.
Okay. That's a whole nother topic. Is discussing our work with food waste and the whole challenge of food waste, food security, access to food during this time. Okay,
Suppose
so
you
that's
could
good
call
to know.
Oh, sorry, Bex. I was just gonna say, I suppose you could call that responsible consumption,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but
Okay. So
So I
if,
have a question then, Ms. James,
go on, James.
because I know that climate security is part of climate resilience, but responsible consumption and single use, are we talking about that particular one staying in food security, staying in climate resilience?
I wasn't worried about any crossover there. If it comes up through climate resilience, then yeah, I think we go for it. It wasn't going to be the focus of the responsible consumption. I think food waste is a huge issue cutting across, and food security, a huge issue cutting across them all. So I wasn't too worried. I think the projects probably still need to be scoped out to understand in terms of the outreach. Does that help, James?
Yes, it does. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, and then if I was involved in one, it would be the consumption one, and then I'd be really keen to plug in and support the climate resilience if that was needed, and if I was allowed on more than one. So should we get together in groups before the next meeting to see or have a think about a bit more what it looks like? So we've heard everyone that wants to get involved in the different ones. So if we have a lead for each one, I'd be happy to email Larry and see if he's happy with that role. If Mani, if you wanted to get in touch with those that had an interest in the climate resilience. And then Jamie, Risa or one of us can just have a more coordinating role, but I guess it would be similar to how we were involved before. Are there any other suggestions on what to do next? Go on, Risa.
Can I suggest that between today and our next meeting that we have one get together with those people just so that we can get this ball rolling? Just, maybe come up with goals or, or
Yep,
so that we really have something to report every month.
that sounds good. Marnie, what were you going to say?
I'm just curious. I know Marion did quite a bit on climate change outreach, and a lot of that would apply. And I just want to honor what she's done and move that forward as well. So is there, besides, I know there's the thing on the website that has the action items. Is there any other way to have some continuity with her efforts? I don't know what else to.
I think, if I can jump in, I think that the action card that she put together is still pretty relevant and it has a lot of different things on it. And that's linked on the commission page. As far as printed materials, there's not a whole lot that exists right now that's current, I'd say anything that can push like active city programs out, it would be helpful. Solar incentives, the e-bike consent, like all that stuff can always use more being pushed out, and each of those has a program page. So I don't know if that really is answering your question though. Like, there's not a lot. And so I think if we want to come up with more, that's great. When Bridget and I get the website put together, hopefully there will be some more discrete printable pieces that go with that.
Okay.
I don't know that you folks need to develop that. We'll bring it when it's ready for some input. But yeah, I think if there's something that you feel is missing as a group, you should feel free to start developing that, or seeing if we can find it somewhere else to use one that already exists.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Ju. Risa, were you going to say something?
Well, I was just going to check in with Marnie and the group. I haven't been in contact with Marion for a while, but I was. If it would be beneficial to you, I would just reach out to say hi and how she is. And possibly she might want to join a Zoom. I mean, I have no idea, but just in the spirit of what you said, of the work that she did in her interest, is that inappropriate at this time, Stu?
Well, last I checked in with Marion, which was a while back, she was involved with the Ashland Action folks. So I think that she's had her own continuity with that group. And if this group is going to be engaging with that group, it seems like there will be continuity there.
That sounds great.
And the other piece was that Larry was working on those videos too. And I don't really know what it went anywhere with them, but I'll just check in with him and see if there's anything that he thinks should fit into this group's efforts.
Yeah.
So,
I might mention too that this is late after the fact, but the Emerging Futures group was working on a community website of sorts, which is not done yet. But once it is done, that'll be another channel for you folks to put, especially news happenings or events on there. And they're going to have, I think, also a directory of regional sustainability focused organizations. So that's in the future, but I think another good connection once it's available.
Okay, great.
The only other thing I was going to add, someone said a minute ago that we could check in every month. And I think that's exactly the idea. If you have these different project leads, that you can have a short report back every month, and ideally in a paragraph that's in the packet so everyone can catch up before the meeting, but might take a while to get to that point.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So maybe not a paragraph for the packet this month. Let's get moving, and then we could look at doing that for future months. I was just thinking, James and Brian, do you want to divide and conquer? Because you both went for the same two in the same order. Do you want to go for two separate ones to support Larry and Marnie? Risa also said she wanted to be involved in water as well, or do you both want to be plugged into both? How do you think? Maybe take Stu's advice of just being involved in one to begin with and dedicating the time you have available to that one.
I would prefer climate resilience. James here.
I'd probably like to do both of them. I don't think right now, I think I have the flexibility to do that.
Okay, so that's great, James, because Risa is involved in the water one as well. So that gives, yeah, a same number on both of them. Thank you both. I will update Larry.
Wait, so Marnie's gonna be the lead on the conservation one, Larry on the water one, and then we'll be expecting to hear from them to reach out to us about when we'll get together and where.
Yeah, or reach out to them and ask if you can help coordinate what you can do.
I'll send you guys an email and we'll set a date and Zoom.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Okay. I think we have a plan. I'm really happy. We had all the projects put forward. We got down to 3 and now we're in a little in focused areas. Thank you. Yeah. And we've also got some communication outlets too. This is really exciting. Wait, I have to flip back to my other screen. Right, we're on to new business and annual report to council for December the 15th. I saw the link and it had some scrolling comments on it at the bottom, Elizabeth. And I was just wondering, you asked me to keep a date free. And I think you're asking Risa and I to go to give the annual report, or just one of us?
Yeah, typically the chair and vice chair do. I don't remember last year what we did. I think it's kind of also open if someone else wants to. It's just whatever you guys decide. But essentially it's what you've been doing and what you kind of plan to do. So
do you need it written down, or can we just present verbally?
I will need kind of at least one bulleted list for Adam to kind of look over and approve and maybe have a conversation about, but then you can give it orally at the meeting.
Okay, so the one you sent in the packet, is that an example of last year's?
Yes.
Okay, and when's the date that you need the bulleted list by?
Let's see. Probably December 3rd or 4th. We're a little flexible on that though, because the packet will go out the next week, but we like to have everything ahead.
Can we send a draft to this group before then to see if there's any comments, just so it's had input from everyone?
I'm actually hoping that's what you'll do tonight, because if we kind of send around a list after, could be a illegal meeting potentially. So I was hoping you guys could kind of, talk about what you said you've done this year. I know it's been a short one. And then what we just talked about is a good part too.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. So if we'll talk about COVID and a break for 6 months and reunited via Zoom. We can talk about the projects. We can talk about the joint meeting with the CPC. We can talk about
corner. The articles for the sneak.
Yep. And then pre-COVID, there were, well, that will link into the projects that are happening now.
And Road to Go.
Road to Go, yeah.
is current because the program started January 2020, and we can talk a little bit about what has been and what will be.
Mm-hmm.
And then it won't be on a future council CCOC report.
Okay. That's a really good idea of where it got to and where it is now. The 3 projects, sneak preview articles, joint meeting with the CPC. Does anyone have anything else?
We
Are
had,
you, are we
Um,
sure you want to do this in December and not put it off till January so that you get the new council members hearing you?
This is the annual report for 2020, so we do have to do it this year.
You have to do it.
unfortunately. Yeah.
good point though, Steph.
Marnie?
So I don't know if it's worth bringing up any, I'm not, maybe I shouldn't. Well, I don't know. So there's programs that are now kind of going backwards, and it's because of COVID. And I don't know if it's worth bringing that up here, like that we're paying attention to that. Like we're probably the only ones paying attention to the fact that the bag ban is just completely thrown out the window. And you know, we know that that's our job to get it back on track later, maybe, or something like that. I don't know if it's worth pointing that out, but I feel like we're the only ones that actually care to make sure some of these things actually continue forward, not backwards.
Okay.
I like the idea of that, Marnie. I mean, it's not like we're gonna have, you know, Kleenexes and crying and, you know, telling council to fix it, but just to remind them that, you know, these issues are still really important.
Yeah.
And list them, and you know, we're on it.
We're on it.
A
Yeah.
hold zone. Yeah.
So
Like we're not shaming anyone, but at least we're looking forward of, okay, how do we get this back on track later? You know, that's part of our job, I think.
along those lines, wouldn't mind also saying, which was part of the discussion before whittling down the projects to 3, was that we wanted to think of them in the context of the economic rebuild and having sustainability and climate change thought of right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And what's happening around the biking infrastructure and the number of discussions in different commissions with different groups, with different organizations across the Rogue Valley is a perfect example of that. Yeah, so maybe we should also have, noticing the impact on projects, and we don't want them to go backwards. And at the same time, there is no better time to bring in climate change right at the beginning of some of these big decisions being made. Okay.
That's great. Yeah, I think it's nice to put our kind of our regular successes in context of the bigger picture right now. It's different than us just normally reporting what we did last year.
Okay. So, well, I'm happy to write that up as a list, Elizabeth, and get it to you. What was the deadline for me again?
The 3rd.
December 3rd.
So Elizabeth, should we vote on what we just talked about? Then it's official, and then Bex can write it up and send it to you, and then it's.
Yeah, that sounds good. If someone wants to make a motion.
So I move that the list of agenda items that will go before the January City Council. I forgot what I started with. It was so long. Sorry, if someone could help me, please. I move that the items that we discussed be written up and presented at the upcoming City Council meeting in December.
I second your move.
All those in favor?
Wait, I have a discussion item. If that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was just looking at the 4th bullet down, which is our participation in Eva and Jim Hartman's class. It might be nice to do a shout out to Jim Hartman, or about Jim Hartman, to the City Council, because he's now retired. And it might be a nice way to acknowledge his participation and his moving on from teaching that class.
So that list is from last year,
Right.
and I'm not sure any background to this. I don't know, I need some words on what to say there.
Oh, and just a shout out to Jim Hartman, who's just recently retired and was taking on a lot of, he's a former commissioner, and he took on the climate change class and did a lot of work toward teaching students this process, or to learn about climate change and to take action. That's all, just a way to give a shout out to Jim Hartman.
Lisa?
Did you say me?
Yeah.
I guess a question that would have for Steph is, how would council feel about us doing that? Is that in the parameters of what is expected?
What I would suggest is maybe the commission wants to put his name forward for the Ragland Award. Because they are looking for volunteers that have given a lot to the community for that right now. So that might be one way of acknowledging him, and he would know that he was nominated for that.
I just want to say, I think that's a great idea. His class made a huge difference in just having all those kids now speaking on climate change has been amazing. So we should do that. I don't know that has to do with the same topic specifically.
Sounds like this sounds like a good way to approach it.
So it sounds like rather than that, the avenue would be for someone on the commission to take the lead to apply for the Ragland Award in Jim Hartman's name. But I'm still asking the question, Steph,
I think that the way that you would do it, in a sense, I mean, I think you could honor him by any way that you wanted to honor him, but that would be a more public way of doing it. And
Well,
I think
Steph, I just have a question then. The Ragland Award is about contribution of the public sector volunteers, as he was a teacher at Ashland High School.
I think that people giving to the community over and above what their job is, if you feel that he gave to the community above what his job was, then I think that's appropriate. I mean, it would be the same as a commissioner, or there are a variety of different kinds of volunteers. There have been organizations like AAUW that have been also nominated. So, I mean,
Okay,
I don't think
that answers my question.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll get that to you, Elizabeth. And then the next item, sorry, go on, Elizabeth.
We do have a motion on the table, so if we could just call for a vote.
Oh, all those in favor? Aye. Risa, where have you gone?
Sorry, just nature called.
James, aye.
James, thanks, Risa. Then next item, citywide composting action, which is a letter a note that's been drafted. Has everyone had a chance to look at it? It was sent out with the packet. And this is to go from us to the city administrator and Recology general manager about reference to tackling food waste in the climate energy action plan. Are there any comments, views? I want to say thank you to Risa for driving this forward and put this forward. So I think it's been brought to us to, are we happy sending it on our behalf to take to the city administrator and Recology?
Hey, Risa, thank you for doing this. This is James. I have a question regarding maybe, I know city council is always interested in hearing what the costs are. And I think with the new council additions and the mayor, the budget side of things going to be always a big issue. So I'm just curious about, is there a way to do some research that talks about the cost and benefit or the return on investment for doing this type of thing, both from a actual financial cost as well as a carbon benefit?
So down the road, James, that is absolutely a critical question to ask. But basically what the recommendation is about is just beginning a process that hasn't happened yet, that is not the best people to do the research, to provide the numbers, the options, and the costs are not you and me. It's Recology. They're in the business of it. They have engineers. They have a track record of providing commercial composting facilities across 3 states. And so the recommendation is very simple. It's just, the SEEP talks about this as one of the actions. As a city, it's one thing we haven't activated yet. It's going to be a process, and the suggestion is, let's get the process rolling. Recology is the best resource to provide us with some options and some costs and how we can do it. And then, you know, community engagement and all that stuff comes further down the line.
I appreciate that, Risa. And I'm just thinking a city councilor might go, well, why would we want to do this? I'm only playing the devil's advocate because I just want to make sure that we present it in a way that can be accepted.
That at this moment, we don't need to answer that question. At this moment, we have kicked this can down the road for decades. And before we can say yay or nay to anything, we need to know what our options are and what our costs are. And so it's just to jumpstart that process. And so.
Okay, that makes sense. And I guess the explanation is it's not going to cost the city anything to do this exploration.
Yes, it is why Recology,
nothing comes for free, even time of staff, which is not to say this isn't important. This seems a lot like a policy proposal, in which I think maybe it should go through the other commission. However, since this group is education focused, why doesn't this group come up with this study? And I'm curious also of like, if this process, as you say, is successful, what does that look like to you?
well, what I'll say is my initial plan was to present this to the commission, to get the ball rolling, and to present it to council. And I had an opportunity to share this with Adam. And it was Adam who said, hey, send the proposal or the recommendation, address it to Adam, Gary Blake, and CC Steph as our council liaison, and get the ball rolling more quickly, so that then as we move toward kickstarting that aspect of SEEP, professionals, Adam, Gary, can present data, research to see where to take this, because it's a complicated thing. It is a process, who knows how many years in the making. And from where I'm sitting and have sat for the last, 15 years, there is a lot of public interest, but we don't really know what we're agreeing to or what we're disagreeing about, because we don't have enough information.
I don't disagree. I think it would be helpful to give council more than this, though. I think they're going to need more of an idea about what exactly you're asking for. Like an example, another case study, for example, so I can say, like, from the city side of things, that I've thought about this for our facilities and for the future of the wastewater treatment plant. There's probably going to be a proposal for in-vessel composting, which is great, but that's not going to serve curbside Ashland pickup. That's going to totally different scale. And I think that, like, there's a lot of studies that suggest that this is going to make sense for carbon and, circular economy and, avoiding tipping fees and all these other things. But ultimately, there's going to need to be a source of funding, and be curious to hear Jamie's take on the rates and the franchise and what wiggle room might exist in that someday in the future. Like, I think there should be a robust citizen engagement ahead of the franchise re-signing. And so maybe that's where this comes into play. But really, to develop the infrastructure needed to handle curbside compost is going to be a really long-term process, as I think we all know. So it may not happen before the next franchise, but there might be a way to get rate approval or something in there. I don't know, Jamie, what do you think?
Well, I might need a little more clarification on your question, but just off the top of my head, is curbside collection the only option? Because yes, that would come at a significant rate increase to the payers out there. Is there an in-vessel composting type of solution that is a drop off, or any other number of solutions? I don't know. I don't know. Specifically, as far as, I think what you said was, is there any wiggle room in the rates? Or
I was just saying, what do you think the ratepayers will bear?
Well, I mean, if it's when we had the recycling crisis, they were willing to step up for that. I realize that's maybe not a good comparison because that's worldwide news, whereas collecting, composting at the curb, not.
Can I
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, can I make a suggestion? Because there's a couple of questions around this, and I'm just conscious of time because I don't want to lose the other item. It was on the agenda in the last meeting. So if we took out the focus of curbside, from what I understand, this was to get it back on the radar of council and the people that should be discussing it. I don't see, it hasn't been highlighted as a project here, and those that should be in the room discussing the options, a lot of them do not sit on this commission. This is a much, much wider discussion. So for me, this was a very simple request from our commission responding to a policy that is already in a plan for the city of Ashland saying, hey, that's there, can we move it forward? I mean, Lisa, I might be totally wrong here, but that's what I felt was being asked of the commission when this was being asked to be on the agenda. Not for us to do the work here. This is a massive piece of exploration work that needs the input of other experts within the city and possibly out with the city to find out what the best option is for City of Ashland. So we could remove the word curbside because it's like we've already made the decision, and maybe take this up to council. I appreciate there's not a lot of information with it, but it's flagging a policy that is in a strategy for this city.
This, James, I might add that, this is a big deal because diverting compost into digesters is a regional issue. I mean, we have a small population here in the valley, 205,000, whatever, in Sonoma County and probably Marin County and other counties around the Bay Area. They take that compost and throw it all in their composter bin, and everything gets thrown into this composting process. So it seems to me that there's a bigger issue that's much more Rogue Valley wide that we should explore rather than just try and turn it into an Ashland issue.
So I agree. There's a lot going on here that needs to be discussed with people that are far more informed as well. When I first came to Ashland, I took a huge interest in this because I couldn't understand the amount of food waste being transported to a landfill, having come from a country where they've banned biodegradable waste from landfill, how they've got a food waste curbside collection, which has some success in some places and very little success in other places. Again, I think this needs further exploration. And I didn't think it was this letter that was setting all out these views. I think it was trying to go with a much more open mind of saying, hey, we need to find a solution for Ashland, because it is one of our areas where we need to address the carbon impacts. Sorry, Jamie.
I guess my first question is, do we need to move on or, okay, so I'll save what I have to say. That's fine.
Okay, so
Well, no,
where
it's
do
fine.
we go from here? Because we've got the letter that's come forward. There is obvious some discomfort in the group of sending it forward. For me, I just saw it as a recommendation to start thinking about this and getting the right people involved thinking about it. Hence, it was going to the city manager, administrator, and the Recology general manager. I would be comfortable taking out the word curbside because it's like decisions have already been made, and seeing it as a note of saying, hey, this is in a plan. Is it on your radar? And bring the right stakeholders together. Risa?
Can we take a vote and we'll see where we are, and and go from there.
Okay.
May I add one thing? That is, where does this fit within our 3 areas of focus?
It's not in there at the moment, James. This is new businesses. So it's
Okay.
not, it's us raising it with the city council to put it on their radar.
But how is it not climate?
No, it's not in terms of the 3 projects at the moment that we were discussing and that we've spent a couple of months prioritizing.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So I motion that we remove the word curbside and send the letter to the city manager and general manager of Recology from the Conservation and Climate Outreach Committee.
I apologize, Bets, but you can't make that motion as a chair.
Oh, can I not? Okay. I didn't even know this, James. Thank you.
I make a motion for exactly what Bex just said.
Perfect, Marnie. I'll second that.
Okay.
Those in favor?
Hi, James.
Should I even be voting then? Do I get to vote? Or
You
I
get
just can't be-
to vote, yes.
I have no idea sometimes.
So
Okay.
just quick discussion point. We don't need to take more than 10 seconds before you vote, but I think there's no harm in sending this letter, but sending it to Adam and Gary doesn't necessarily mean it goes to council. So just keep that in your mind, is that as I was a little confused at first of like sending it to council isn't going to maybe get a response, but to Gary and Adam will be a little more discreet. So
Go on, Risa.
Well, CCing Steph and Steph being at this meeting, it's, you know, we're not doing this in a disconnect. That's all.
Steph, do you have some recommendations?
Well, I've actually already mentioned at council the idea of composting and commercial composting, and was the I showed some of it. I don't know what they
You're
do,
frozen.
but
We've lost you, Steph. We're not getting
people
everything you're
will-
saying.
oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes or no? Okay. I wonder about just presenting some models to the council. Something that some other communities are doing with regard to some different ways. Like I said, it was very impressive when I went to Whistler to see how they did it. I mean, people just brought eggshells to eggshell bins, and I mean, it was amazing what they did. But
Yeah, there's some amazing examples around the world. I've seen it where they have, the underground, they have overground. I think at this stage it was just highlighting it and copying in council. I do feel that examples like that and what is possible would be part of the whole exploration.
And I would also add that if you can add in the concept of doing this with partnership in the Greater Rogue Valley, that would be helpful as well.
yeah, I think some way of presenting it that's upbeat, that's
I think
that it's possible, it's already done, it's not something that we're just
I think we'll look into all of that and it will be positive. But just point out we voted on this. So I think we have to move to the next agenda item on 20's plenty, and really keen we cover this. We've been approached by another commission for their support, so I'm really excited for that commission cross-pollination that's happening here. Risa attended the Climate Policy Commission to hear about this item. And it's the Transport Commission that are also pushing this, but there's a number of gains, and it's in the packet that was sent out in terms of the PowerPoint presentation that covers all the aspects of this. And basically they're looking for a volunteer from our commission to support all the gains and be part of this promoting across Ashland. So they're just looking for a volunteer at this stage and then work on this in January and February. So I'm assuming everyone's had a chance to flip through the presentation from the packet to understand what this is about. And was there anyone,
It's mostly about biking stuff, right?
Sorry?
About biking stuff mostly?
It's about biking and the speed limit. That's what it's about, going to 20 miles an hour across Ashland. So it wasn't for us to discuss the view at this commission. It was for us to identify a volunteer from our commission that could then be part of another group supporting this.
Has this already been presented to the Transportation Commission?
Yes.
Yes.
So I have a question, James, here. When it comes down to what we're doing and how we're participating with them, is this an official representation on that other commission that brings the two commissions' representations together?
No, this hasn't come from the Climate Policy Commission. This has come from a range of commissions bringing us together: Transportation Commission, the our commission, and the Climate Policy Commission. So it's bringing together a number of areas to discuss this as a group. They've sent out a schedule as part of the PowerPoint presentation. No decisions have been made yet. They want kind of a volunteer from each commission to represent our views, to come together on what could be recommended, and then that would be reviewed, and then it would go to the city council, from what I understand. So at this stage, all they're asking from us is for a volunteer from our commission.
Oh, okay. So there are no comments that we would make on this particular draft.
They're just asking for a volunteer, and that's
I
all
see.
we have time for as well. We have
Okay.
3 minutes left, and I'm really sorry, I am on a fast and hard deadline for 5 o'clock. So
I'll volunteer.
what's that, Brian?
I said I'll volunteer to work with those other commissioners.
Brilliant, thank you. Risa,
Thank you,
sorry, you were gonna
Brian.
say-
Oh,
I think if you-
I was wondering if you knew what the level of commitment for the volunteer, is it like 3 meetings, 1 meeting, ongoing?
Not sure, I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be 24/7, Brian.
How do I get in touch with people who are working on it already?
I can put you in touch.
Okay, thanks.
Is that how it would work, Elizabeth, or should you put Brian in touch?
That's fine either way. I think the other people are Linda Peterson Adams from Transportation and Gary Schaff from Climate Policy. So
Yeah.
And Brian, James here, if you would like some support, I'm there for you as well.
Okay, thanks.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
Elizabeth, you need a motion for them to send a nominee.
yeah, let's just finalize it. Does someone want to
I
make a
move.
motion?
I move that Brian Soul represent the Conservation and Climate Outreach Commission in the joint thing with Transportation and Climate Policy Commission.
Second that, James.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's great. Thank you.
I need to leave because I have a 5 o'clock meeting, so,
Oh, Steph, you feel
Same.
like I do.
and I'll have to see if I can get on since I've had so much Zoom trouble. Anyway, good work, guys.
Thanks, Steph.
Thank you.
Bye, Steph.
Bye.
4:59, Bex. We did
Thanks, everyone. I did it. So I'm going to, Brian, I will put you in touch, and Elizabeth can too, but we'll introduce you all. That's brilliant. Okay.
Bex,
I
nice
look
job
forward-
leading the meeting
Thank you.
with a
And
bunch of
thank you all for
cats.
being here. I'm really happy we had quorum.
Bye.
Thanks, y'all.
I made some good decisions today. Thanks, everyone.